Masters of Divinity. I'm your moderator, JP, and this is the Masters of Divinity Coronavirus Happy Hour. And I'm here with Father Chuck.
Hey, it's 11 a.m. for me.
Yeah, he's not. That's happy hour for me. Not for Chuck because he is in Hawaii.
I am in Hawaii, and I am dressed like a priest right now.
Awesome. It's staying on brand. I like it.
Well, and I'm in my office. Generally you'll get like one day a week that I come in here, so I'm here, and it's weird. There's no books other than the ones that were already here when I got here, and like I've only been in this office maybe 5 times since I got here, so it's weird that it's mine because it doesn't really feel like mine. But
all right,
so
it'll become home soon.
It will, and hopefully I'll have I'll have to find another angle in the office, to record, and hopefully I'll have because I had the art barge, canvas behind me at one point. It's some fun background stuff.
Yeah, dude, totally.
I should totally put if I'm gonna use the bookshelf though, I should totally put Easter eggs up so that see if people we can make a thing out of it if people notice
things that relate to the episode, like little
tchotchkes. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
So let's give an update. You're probably wondering, do any of the members of Masters of Divinity are any of them infected with COVID-19? I can say that I don't think I am. I could be. I haven't gotten tested, so who knows? It's asymptomatic, and I go out a lot. For errands.
Right.
I wear gloves, but you never know. So I don't know. Maybe not. How about you?
Here's the thing. I as far as I know, not had it.
Good.
Would love to get the antibody testing because I suspect that I have antibodies.
Oh, really? What makes you think that?
Well, because there's this theory out there that I've been intrigued by, which is that the virus has been in our community in the United States for a lot longer than we thought. Since
I did hear about
going
that.
back to November, and I had a meeting with a parishioner back in November at my church in Florida, my previous parish, and about 2 days after our meeting, she was admitted to the hospital with pneumonia, suddenly, really quickly onset pneumonia, super severe pneumonia. That was unprecedented. She wasn't really feeling too many symptoms, and then suddenly while she was driving from one meeting to another on the interstate, she felt extremely fatigued and suddenly just pulled into the hospital, and they checked her out, found out she had some kind of crazy case of pneumonia. They actually had to send her out to Arizona for breathing therapy treatment stuff and all this stuff. And I have wondered since that happened if she may have had it. And I may have also, because she was in my office with me, just days before this happened, if this had not spread to me. And around that time, of course, family members and other folks had a couple of mild colds here and there. So, for a lot of people.
And it's also flu season.
It's also flu season.
That time.
Yeah, but the thing is this, for her, it was just very mysterious. And I'd be interested to find out. It could be totally wrong, but it'd be really fascinating to find out if she had it. And my whole family has been exposed to it, and we all have antibodies.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And that's the thing, I guess, with this, and I'm really intrigued by is it would be great to find once we start doing more widespread testing, particularly antibody testing. I think we're going to find that. The evidence is already there to suggest that it's way more widespread than we know, and as a result of that, that means its infection rate, or it's symptomatic infection rate or whatever, is way lower than we've been anticipating.
Maybe.
It would be very interesting because right now the infection rate is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3%, and that's because they're only testing people who are showing severe enough symptoms to warrant testing. So once you kind of spread that out, it changed the infection rate and different things like that. So I don't know. It's a fascinating thing.
Maybe we had it all along, our whole lives, and something happened just to awaken it inside of us, and we're all just kind of waiting for it to happen. It's already coming after you, baby. It's already in you, baby.
It'd be pretty amazing actually to find out if it is some kind of dormant virus we've all had, and just somehow it just got activated.
As far as I know, Matt's okay. we joked on an episode that he had coronavirus, and today that seems extremely insensitive.
It was one of those things where we did it and we thought that it was funny at the time because it was
Yeah.
still kind of like, this isn't really.
It may or may not. Who knows? It
And
was
then,
like I was pretty much treating it like SARS.
and like within the past like month, it became like the second leading cause of death in the United States or something like that.
Yep. They sure did spike after that episode hit, or before that episode actually even. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks.
Yeah.
Matt, as far as I know, does not have COVID-19. He's doing fine.
Yep.
I don't know, but he's not here though.
Yeah, he's
working.
I'm
Got a
telling you,
job.
I'm thinking that Matt for our podcast is kind of like at this point Barry Allen in the Flash comics from like the 80s to the 90s, because like Barry Allen was known through his absence rather than his presence.
I was thinking more like that guy on the Tom Green show that just laughed, and then one day he just kind of disappeared, and they put a cutout of him behind Tom Green.
I don't remember that. I actually never really watched the Tom Green show.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know I was a bad millennial.
well, Tom Green, when he wasn't out doing dumb stuff, he had like a desk portion of the show, and he had that one dude he always like picked on, and a guy that kind of sat in between them. It was just a dude who laughed, and he was like always like a mug of coffee, and he just laughed. But then after a while, then one day he just like disappeared. But they had like a cardboard cutout of him in the back of the stage. They just sitting there.
So we're all COVID free, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
I mean, we can see right now on the screen that JP is working through a case of Corona right now.
Hey, yeah, they say it cures. Dad jokes. I don't know. What I can't even. I was gonna compile a bunch, but then just went out of control, and people started actually making the jokes.
Well, you remember last episode, what 6 years ago that we recorded, was
I think it was 84 years ago, but yes,
was
it's been 84 years.
We made that comment about how we were going to see those Corona jokes, like like, oh, a case of Corona is like, I said by Cinco de Mayo you're going to say, oh, you got a case of Corona or whatever, and that was going to be a joke about like a hangover, and that as soon as we finished recording, I found a comment on a thing on Facebook or on Instagram making the joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So what have you been doing, Chuck, to kind of keep yourself sane in these times?
Well, I mean,
is Hawaii do they have you ordered sort of to be in place, or what's the sitch?
So we have a stay-at-home order that applies to every island has their own little kind of different way they're doing it. But for us in Oahu, we have it's called like Better at Home, Safer at Home, or something like that is the mayor's name for it. It is that you are basically, you work from home. You are allowed 1 day a week to go to your office to take care of things in the office. So like if you have to sign checks or collect mail, things like that. As a priest, I am allowed on Sunday to go into the church, pretty much by myself to record a service to put on, or to live stream a service for folks. So, and then of course you're allowed to, like most places, you're allowed to go out and get food, groceries, things like that, and also allowed to exercise. The interesting thing for us is that all of our cases in Hawaii have come from residents returning from the mainland, and a few from tourists, but mostly from residents returning to the mainland. We don't have super widespread community spread here. It just hasn't really happened, particularly in Oahu. I mean, we don't know because our testing obviously is not 100%, but the evidence is there that we have very mild community spread, and that when we found it, we've been managed to mitigate it pretty good. But as a result of that, we are afforded some things that a lot of places in the United States are not allowed. Like I can still go surfing or swimming in the ocean. You can't hang out in a beach park or just sit on the beach. You have to be in the water. You can cross a beach park to enter the beach. There's also a few kind of tucked out of the way hiking trails that are still open. And so we've done that. And then I've set up a little home office. and all of that. But I will say, in terms of, so that's the stuff I've been doing to kind of keep myself sane, even though it's kind of tough because we still feel like we're home a lot.
Have you gone out to catch some of the sweet Hawaiian waves yet?
I have been surfing a few times. Yes. Unfortunately, the only board that I have, all of my boards are in my pod on their way over right now. We still don't have our stuff. I had ordered a board from a surf company in California that makes a really great soft board. I wanted to buy it because it would be easy to transport for it would be good for using to teach the kids when they're ready for that, and it was supposed to get here sooner than my pod, an 8-foot board, and then all this stuff happened where they've not been able to ship it to me, and so it will now probably not get here till after my pod. But it is what it is. Yeah, but I did find on Facebook Marketplace like a really cool little 4'11" quad mini Simmons style board that can work in smallish waves. And unfortunately, it's not the places I've taken it out have not been good waves for that size board. It's been more of a longboard wave spot. But I did go out at near Queens in Waikiki the other day and managed to catch it a little bit. I will say that spot where I was kind of interesting because there were a couple of shallow reef spots where I was paddling and I hit the reef with my hand, or I felt my fins scrape on the reef when I was paddling back out. Kind of interesting to have that experience, to go from like a sandy beach to reefs,
coral,
but sea turtles around, all kinds of fun stuff like that. But so I've been out. We found one little kind of out of the way spot here, not exactly a secret, but it's kind of an out of the way spot that has a nice little protected cove that produces some waves over a lava rock reef, and there's like mountains behind me, and there's these really beautiful tide pools, some of which are deep enough to snorkel in, and you can see.
So cool, man! You're like surfing on a new planet,
Oh, dude, it totally is.
That's awesome.
It's like being in a dream. This is it. And it is also immensely interesting to be going through such a drastic change in life during this time.
Mm-hmm.
The move out here was interesting, and then to be here for these past 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks, of adjustment to a place where you can't really go out and explore as much as you would like to. We've walked the neighborhood, and we've gone to grocery stores and different things like that. But there's so many there's so many like cultural centers and things that we just haven't had the opportunity to really take advantage of, to really teach you about the place. Plus, I haven't met most of my parishioners. I've taken to calling them. I'm trying to get to like 2 or 3 phone calls a day if I can get it, but trying to do all this with small, highly energetic boys at home that can't go anywhere very much makes that very difficult. And so it's been interesting to really be in more of a receptive mode rather than a go and do mode.
Right.
Which is probably really good for a Howley mainlander like myself, because it's really important for us to. I've come to realize it's very important for us to listen and be receptive when coming to a place like Hawaii, rather than to like impose. Because a lot, as white folks have done a lot of imposing on these islands, and it's not been good for us. So it's been kind of nice for me to be in this position of listening and watching and learning, rather than trying to like go out and do a bunch of stuff.
That's cool, man. That's good.
So yeah, we are under the stay-at-home order, but it's had its blessings. Of course, things are very uncertain. We're a church that most of our income comes from our rentals, and so if people can't pay their rents, we're going to be in a dicey place. So there's that.
So before we move on, I'll make a quick little detour.
Sure.
Just a quick detour, because I want to get your opinion. How do you feel about these churches in the mainland? I don't know if they're in Hawaii, meeting and having like parking lot services where people kind of stay in their car in the parking lot. The dude preaches from like the inside the church or over Facebook or whatever.
I mean, it's it's a little complicated. I mean, it's a complex thing to kind of talk about because there have been a few Episcopal parishes that tried it where they were doing like drive-through communion, which is gimmicky. And I don't know. Well, so let me answer it two things. There's two different ways of approaching church, right? Like my church is a sacramental church. So for us, like pretty much the main thing that we gather for is to receive Holy Communion. Like that's what we're here to do, right? The preaching, the music, the readings, and all of that is in service for us to get to the main event, which is to receive the sacrament. And so the challenge that we have faced as a church is how to have church without the receiving of the sacrament. And so that's caused us to dip into more of our bit more reformed Protestant parts of Anglican Christianity than our more Catholic sacramental parts of it. But that's a piece I can get to a little bit later if we want to. But the other thing is that there are other churches where the main event is preaching, hearing the sermon. And for those churches, like, I don't know, knock yourself out. If you want to have drive-through church, again, I think it's gimmicky, but you know, I don't know why you couldn't just do that from home.
Yeah.
It feels the
same way.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like, it feels a little cult of personality-esque. Like, I need you to come to me to hear what I have to say, no matter what.
Right.
Like, I can understand the sacrament piece, coming to the church and you want the sacrament. And so you do what you can to sort of like capture as much of that as you can or whatever. But if your main event for your service is to listen to a guy talk, you can do that from home.
Correct.
I don't think you need to go to the church, but at the same time, I also understand there's that sense of community. You want to see each other. You want to know that you're with other people, that if you're like alone in your home, to be able to just go in your car and sit in a parking lot with a bunch of other people kind of gives you the sense that you're around other people. So I get it on that sense. So I shouldn't be too negative about it.
Yeah. I'd say as long as you're not breaking any laws,
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting to watch is how the church adapts afterward. Because like for us, again, the sacrament is the main thing. And so pretty much we're doing what we're doing until we can have communion again. Like we generally largely recognize that what we're doing is a surrogate or a placebo or a you know, it's a placeholder for what we know we're called to do as a church. And so once the order is okay for us to be together, we're going to be together. That's just going to happen. I don't know how it's going to work for churches like let's say like your Christ Fellowship there in South Florida or something like that, where
they already do satellite sermons, baby.
Right. They already do this stuff in such a way that they've already kind of cut themselves off at the feet with it by streaming it out and putting it out there for everyone. And so I don't know how they're going to justify then, I want you to come and be at our church every week. Like, you need to be here, when we've now effectively said, oh, we can give you almost the full experience from home. I just don't understand where your theology is in making the gathering together, other than you're saying that you're just doing it because you're obeying what the Bible says, which is to not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, that you're doing it out of an obligation of obedience to what was taught in the scriptures. But like, yeah, again, like, I don't know. It exposed to me part of one of the reasons why I left those kinds of churches, because it just kind of stopped making sense to me. Like, why am I going to this? Why make the effort to go and just like listen to a rock band play and then a guy talk for half an hour
for the contemporary rock concert?
Yeah. Whereas like, I feel like I got very close to that experience on my own without it. It was actually coming and having something in my hands that I can't have anywhere else, in the form of the Eucharistic sacrament, that changed that for me. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the church changes, and how evangelicalism in particular changes as a result of this.
And I think I think there's going to be a lot of changes after this, not just the church. And I'm really curious to see how, because I'm me, but how the film industry is going to change after this. Theaters are not doing well.
Yeah.
AMC in particular might go bankrupt.
Right. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that we are going to see that focus that was already happening, where big blockbusters on the big screen, like going to the theater, is you're going to go to the theater to see something that you can't replicate the experience at home.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the theater situation is going to be a bit dicey for a while. I think when Dune comes out, provided it doesn't get any kind of delays, when Dune comes out, I think that the visual spectacle of that, if they market it right, could be something that draws people to theaters. But I think that what's going to happen is 2021, James Cameron is going to save us. JC is going to save us in 2021 because Avatar 2 is going to come out, and like
those JCs are all about saving us.
You know?
Jesus, JC Chazé, James Cameron.
John Connor. It's but again, I think that like when Avatar 2 comes out, because that the technology to make that movie what it's going to be, and so it's the immersive aspect of what it will be. I think James Cameron's aware it's important now to foster something that tries to get people into a theater to see it.
Yeah.
And of course, by then we should probably have a vaccine, so like it'll be less of a fearful thing. And I think that that's going to be what'll get people back in theaters, at least, but provided there actually are theaters to even host it, which is going to be the interesting conversation.
Well, I think what's interesting is, and I may be completely wrong, but if history has proved anything in relation to disasters and the cinema going public, if I were a studio head, I would be chasing that sweet weekend, the first weekend after everything is lifted, because I think it doesn't matter what movie you're releasing on that weekend, it's going to make bank.
Yep.
You could release
Cats,
because that's yeah. Oh man, Toby Hooper, you should have sat on it, buddy. Like, because it all goes, because it reminds me of like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
The movie that came out that weekend was Mariah Carey's Glitter. And that movie killed that weekend because everyone just had to see a movie. Right. Anything. They had to get out. They had to go to the movie theater. They had to forget about what was happening. Like two movies that did really successful that week. That was Independence Day and Glitter.
Independence Day?
Oh yeah, dude. The rental
sales, rentals.
Like,
gotcha.
Yeah, they spiked.
I was like dude, that movie wasn't in theaters then, bro.
No, it wasn't. But like all the rental sales spiked. Like even Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, like, yeah, we made a lot of money that week. So I think that's what you'll probably see. Like, you can release anything. Like, you're gonna see the most random movie like come out on top of the box office that weekend.
That's why, honestly, if Denis
say it with me now, Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve. You gotta use that.
Okay,
whatever. That French accent.
Villeneuve.
Oh, shut up, Denis Villeneuve.
That's why, like you're saying, if people go to the movies see anything, like if Dune hits it, if Dune can hit that target, like it would be pretty awesome. Honestly, who's probably watching this really closely is Warner Brothers, because you know what they're sitting on.
The Zack Snyder cut?
No.
Justice League?
No.
Oh, what?
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so, and like, King of the Monsters did not do well.
Right.
And they had already greenlit Godzilla vs. Kong because they thought that King of Monsters was going to do like gangbusters, and then people want to see. So I bet if they released Godzilla vs. Kong right after.
Well, they're also sitting on.
It's set to be out like in November or something.
Yeah, they're also sitting on Bond.
Oh yeah. Because
Bond is owned by MGM and Warner Brothers owns MGM.
Oh, that's right.
So,
I gotta be honest, I'm just not excited.
Really? A lot of people were, man. People were stoked for that one because I think it's the last Daniel Craig one, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, we have to do an episode with Matt, and we probably bring my buddy Josh on to talk about James Bond at some point, because I'm not I am not that big a fan of the Daniel Craig era Bond.
Really? Ooh. I love Skyfall. Skyfall is great.
Skyfall is a good movie. I just don't know if it's a
Casino
good Bond
Royale's fun.
movie. Here's the thing. I'm gonna make Matt mad. But he knows this. I've told him this. I think the best Bond movie is GoldenEye.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that Pierce Brosnan's the best Bond. He's a good Bond. His movies were terrible though. Like that, unfortunately he was saddled with really bad Bond movies. I mean, let's be honest. You know who the best Bond is?
I don't.
It's
I'm not a Bond head, so I don't really know. I don't really know what it is.
Tim.
Is it,
I was gonna make a joke. It was the guy from.
Oh, don't say it. Matt will kill you.
License to Kill. Living
or no, he'll probably kill if you say George Lazenby.
Ugh. So no, I think that I just think GoldenEye is the best Bond, and I think that what happened after GoldenEye revealed that Bond doesn't really work without the Soviets.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And that's why GoldenEye is great, because it's dealing with Soviet holdouts who refuse to accept that the war is over. And I remember like a lot of people were joking, like when Putin was like doing a lot of totalitarian stuff, it was like, all right, Bond movies are gonna get good again. Of course, there's also the fact that Bond is a bit of a colonialist fantasy.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, yes.
That doesn't really play too well anymore. But
really lean into those cultural stereotypes.
Yeah. Which I don't recall GoldenEye having any of that, really. Other than the computer hacker character.
Yeah. I don't remember.
But anyway, you're right though. I think the movie industry, watching the movie industry is going to be that's going to be something, because I mean, so many studios, they release their stuff on streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm. And
so I don't think that that's not going to be a regular thing from here on out.
Oh yeah. I think they're going to lean into that more. I think you'll see movies like, The Invisible Man, a movie that kind of suffered from this whole thing.
Right.
Was released for like $20 on iTunes or whatever. A movie I was so close to seeing. I went into the movie theater. I bought my Cheetos popcorn, which is a thing here in Oklahoma. And I sat down. I watched the trailer for Saint Maud, a horror movie that looks excellent, not being released now because of the thing happening. And then I get a call. I had to come back home to help with the greenhouse, and I didn't get to see Invisible Man, with the probably the first good Universal horror movie and Universal monster movie in decades.
Right.
And I missed it.
It's really smart for them. Just as an aside, I haven't seen it, and I don't know that I will, just because I don't think I need that in my head. But
it's good.
But I think that it's a really smart move to make them smaller scale.
Oh yeah. Letting Blumhouse take over, totally. They're the ones making all that horror green for Universal now.
Yeah.
Unless you're Jordan Peele, which he just does it without Blumhouse.
Right. But yeah, making it much more, because I mean that's what the idea of trying to make them like superheroes is the most ridiculous.
That was a horrible idea.
Dark Universe.
Oh, Dark Universe, rest in peace. Hardly knew ye in your wonderfully photoshopped cast photo.
What was it? There was I read a thing a while back that was like we already had our Dark Universe film, and it was called Monster Squad.
Yeah, it was also called Van Helsing.
Oh gosh, don't remind me of that movie. That's the last movie I walked out of. Just
ironically, the last movie I walked out of was Hollow Man.
Oh, that movie's
it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
But no, it's cool. They said the next one's going to be Dracula.
Nice.
So that'll be fun.
Now, I mean, are they going to make it a period piece, or are they going to make it like contemporary?
I don't know. They haven't revealed. I hope it's contemporary, because it'd be a cool new twist.
It would be a cool new twist
to tell the actual Dracula story in a modern setting, which I think I mean, I think the Netflix show did that. I don't know. I'm not really bothering with that one
Yeah, well, and
because I
the
think like Stephen Moffat's behind it, and I do not like him.
well, I think with COVID-19 now, you've got a perfect. You basically you make him like he's an infected person, right? Like
Probably.
like I'm not saying like he's like Dracula's instead like coughing on people or whatever, but that sense of like I think you've got something with vampires now. If you were playing with the idea of infectious disease, because that's sort of become something with them, and we've of course we've turned that into the whole zombie thing, but vampires kind of did it first.
Yeah.
And so that to play off the allure of you want to be there's a seductive quality, you want to be with this person, but they're dangerous. I think you could do something with it.
Yeah.
Also, of course, it's Dracula being sort of the inverse of Jesus is a very interesting thing.
Yeah, because Bram Stoker's vision was sort of to be sort of like a Christian allegory kind of thing, with also maybe some slight xenophobic undertones, making the Eastern Europeans invading Western Europe,
Right. But it's that because it's the whole idea of eating flesh and blood gives you eternal life, right? Like it's a play off of what Jesus says in John's gospel, but in a sort of negative inversive way. So maybe I don't know, maybe you do something with that too, like the fact that Christians aren't able to go to church, and you could like play off of, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do to give an updated take and not something, because they're gonna like try to like avoid doing like the same old story that's been told over and over ad nauseum for decades and decades, which I am so sick of. Which is kind of why I didn't want to watch a Netflix thing, because I'm just tired. I'm like, another Dracula period piece. Okay,
can we make a change?
I have my favorite one. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it rules.
Can we Can we start like a change.org petition to say that like from here on out, vampires don't wear black leather? Like, I'm so tired of the gothic vampire.
Well, I think there's other things to be cool to explore, but I don't know.
Why you make a vampire movie after Blade? I don't understand.
Well, it's like why make a Dracula movie after Bram Stoker's Dracula, unless you had something really ambitious in mind.
Right.
Dracula 2000 is great trash, though.
Yeah, because that was they took the Dracula story and put it into the teen slasher thing that was going on after Scream.
Yeah, and they made Dracula Judas.
Yeah, I know.
I love it. I love it.
So here's so I don't know if have we shared this story? Have we talked about this on this podcast yet?
I don't think we have.
So I remember I actually never seen Dracula 2000. Like I've seen like
I have. I've seen it tons of times, baby. Ask me anything.
But I was playing EverQuest. Okay, I'm dating myself here. So I'm playing EverQuest, and my buddy Josh comes on. And he's like, "Oh, you're finally back online." He was like, "Yeah, I went to go see a movie." I was like, "Oh, what'd you see?" He said, "I saw Dracula 2000." He's like, "Dude, you got to see it. It's got a twist." And I said, and that's why I chatted back with him. And I said, "Let me guess." I said, "Let me guess. Dracula is Judas." And he was like, "How did you know?" And it was a complete shot in the dark guess.
It's a great idea that like I wish I had come up with.
Or maybe I said, "Is he Cain?" And he was like, "No, he's Judas. Even better." But
that's Vampire the Masquerade.
Right.
The first vampire was Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, dude, Dracula 2000. Oh, it's so good. It's got vitamin C in it. She plays the sort of modern iteration of Lucy. Johnny Lee Miller from Hackers.
Mm-hmm.
Got the old school voicemail.
I don't.
What is that noise? Is it?
It's like a Texas Instruments phone.
It's like you're like in CTU,
dude.
Getting a call from Jack Bauer.
It's weird.
But no, Dracula 2000. I mean, it like I was saying, Vitamin C played the Lucy character. You got Johnny Lee Miller from Hackers playing Van Helsing's like a protege. You had it took place in New Orleans. Gerard Butler as Dracula. Just great trash. Most of it taking place in the Virgin Megastore.
Nice.
There's this wonderful scene where he just walks up to the Virgin Megastore and it's playing like this Marilyn Manson shock rock type music video on like this huge screen. He just goes, perfection.
What?
And there's a part, oh my God, one of my favorite parts is Johnny Lee Miller. He saves the Van Helsing's daughter in like a library, and Johnny Lee Miller picks up a Bible and holds it up to Dracula. And Dracula goes, "Ooh, propaganda." And then Johnny Miller literally just opens the Bible up, and the pages fly out of it, and they catch on fire on top of him. He's like, "Oh!" It's great. Oh, it's such a terrible. Jerry Ryan is in it too.
Oh, Jerry Ryan's in it. Oh, nice.
Yes, very small part. She plays one of his brides.
Nice.
Oh,
speaking of, yeah.
The Linkin Park soundtrack.
Okay, I need to check this out now. This might be a Halloween watch.
So here's the thing: it is not scary at all.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't.
It's just trying too hard just to be like edgy and cool.
Right.
It's like it's new metal horror, basically.
Oh yeah. No, I wouldn't expect it to be. I wouldn't expect it to be scary at all.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is for me, like a lot of those movies, like the only legitimate scary part of Scream is the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore.
That's legitimately scary. Yeah, it is.
So like pretty much everything after that followed the Scream formula, like The Faculty is not scary.
That's great though. Great movie. Stokely.
I love that movie. You know, like I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like they're not scary.
No.
It's yeah. So no, I've always found those to be more like psychological thriller types or something like that. Though I will say, Final Destination's scary.
It is scary, dude. I remember being a kid watching that movie in theaters and like walking out there and being like, I'm like afraid to do anything.
Dude, I saw that movie. I saw the first one, I think like a week or two or something like that before I was supposed to go on, I think my first mission trip. I think I was flying. And right, you know, the whole movie's plot is about looking for the clues, right, to get ahead of death.
And the plane crash is like the most terrifying part in the movie.
Do you know what Devon Sawa's name is in that movie?
I forgot.
It's Alex Browning.
Oh, that's right. Because he's named after Todd Browning.
Right. Do you know what my name is?
Charles Alex Browning.
Yeah. I was like, is it trying to tell me something?
Yeah. Did I tell you about the prank my dad did to me? I don't know if I shared it on this show.
I can't remember if you shared it or not on the show, but I'm sure it's been a few years, but I think yeah.
It was the night before we were going to travel somewhere, and Final Destination just happened to be playing on the Sci-Fi Channel. My dad was watching it, and I'm like, I'm not watching that movie before I travel tomorrow. And I told my dad, is like, Matt and I always have this fear, and every time we travel, we always check the latch for the table tray in the airplane, because in the movie, you know, the latch just like comes off and it just drops in his lap.
Right.
He sits down and it drops in his lap. And I'm like, ever since then, I've always checked the latch. The next day, somehow my dad is able to sit down before me, and he like just kind of moves the latch on the chair in front of me.
That's awesome.
And as soon as I sit down, the tray falls on my lap, and I'm like, and my dad just is like dying.
That's messed up.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not cool, man. That's not cool.
That's oh man.
Yeah, but
classic dad.
Yeah, but dude, check out Dracula 2000. I want to hear your thoughts.
We should be like recommending things for people to watch while they're still in social isolation stuff, because by now they've seen Tiger King, they've watched Frozen 2 a bunch of times. Like, find stuff that you don't. I don't know. That would be kind of.
Have you found anything? Has there anything that you have found that has gotten you through this, that is keeping you occupied, keeping you sane?
I mean, I think I say pretty sane. Trying to have
All
but
right.
no, actually, in terms of pop culture, I have discovered Animal Crossing: New Horizon.
Oh no!
So
you and the rest of the country. Apparently.
I know. It was one of those things when I started seeing it come around.
That's
I was
the
like,
Tiger King for Switch, man.
Well, it was. There was a feeling. It was sort of like when Pokemon Go came out. It was like it sort of came at the right time. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I want to play Animal Crossing. Like, it totally, like, seeing it online all the time, I was like, I kind of want to play this. Like, it just seems, because I've been playing, you know, Breath of the Wild, and just wanted something new to play. I hadn't bought a video game in a couple of years. So, and, you know, I had my Switch with me. So I bought Animal Crossing. I couldn't find it in stores. I had to actually download it. I never downloaded a big game like that. I feel like I entered into the new millennium. But it's and I've started profiles for both of my boys. And of course, they want to play all the time, but they can't really read that well. So like I have to play with them and read all the dialogue boxes. And I've realized that there's a lot of repetitive dialogue in that game. But yeah, it's fun. That's fun. Cool. It's fun to like, build up your little island, and it really is like a sandbox and kind of sort of do almost anything you want with it.
It's like a Minecraft kind of game, like.
I mean, way more simplified. It's okay. You craft stuff, you craft tools. It's completely pointless, right? You're crafting furniture to put in your house.
Awesome.
And so everything is it's just completely circular. But there's a Father Fun, friend of the show, Father Fun, sent me an Honest trailer for it, and it talks about how it perfectly replicates the like circular drudgery of capitalism, because you're like spending money you're like making money just to spend money. It just this circular thing, which I got to say, this whole with the economic stuff with COVID-19, that stuff is really ramped up for me as I play the game. I'm sort of like, this is fun, but this is sort of real life for people.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Can I just go over my experience with COVID-19?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I want to talk about what I've been going through. First of all, I feel like I've been preparing for this for 5 years. Because ever since I moved to Oklahoma, I have been a shut in. And it's kind of funny. Like, I already went through the period where I lost my mind like 2 years ago. So I'm okay now. I'm used to it. I like it. I kind of like it, actually. But like, it's funny watching people on Twitter, like, or Facebook, like people just like losing their minds. I'm like, this is kind of fun. Like it kind of reminds me of Melancholia a little bit, because like she's like depressed this whole movie, and everyone around her is just like trying to enjoy the wedding and stuff. And then they find out that the world is going to be destroyed, and she's like the calmest one. And everyone else around her is freaking out. Because like she's calm because like she already knows like the world sucks and it's gonna be destroyed anyway, right? Because she's suffering from horrible depression.
Yeah,
I felt like Kirsten Dunst in Melancholia ever since it's been happening, which may be a bad thing. I don't know. But like my life hasn't changed drastically. I have to, because I live in the country.
Right.
And I don't really go out much often anyway, except to go grocery shopping. And usually when we do our shopping, it's like we do a lot of shopping. We stock up anyway. But this happened to hit when we needed to restock.
Oh.
So we haven't been able to really restock. Like I've had to go to the grocery store like a lot. That's kind of the only big change. And my parents like to eat out more than like to cook. But, I wear the gloves. I got masks. I've got the wipes. I don't have hand sanitizer. I'm thinking about making my own hand sanitizer, which is actually turned out to be really easy. It's just alcohol and aloe vera, apparently. And then there's I got this app called Newsbreak that I kind of recommend everyone try out. It's like a local news thing. It gives you daily updates on the coronavirus and the cases and deaths and recovery and stuff. Gives you kind of a good idea where we're at. But also you should probably don't check it as often as I did when I first got it, which made me like seriously depressed and kind of anxious. And there was a period where like I kind of forgot to wipe down credit cards while I was using them. And then I heard Dr. Fauci say, like, you should probably wipe down credit cards. And I'm like, oh, my God, I went like a whole week of not doing that. And I freaked out. And I had to realize like, you just can't freak out about that kind of stuff. Just
okay. So can I ask?
Okay.
Because I feel like that response is probably average. Do you think that's average, or do you think that's an overkill response?
What?
You like freaking out that you didn't disinfect the credit card?
No, I don't think it's average. I think it's normal for someone like me because I feel pretty responsible for everybody in my house because everyone here is over 60.
Okay.
And like, So like it's sort of like an extra burden on me. If it was just me, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just remember to do it next time. But like when I found that out, I got like seriously scared for a good 24 hours that
See,
I was going to give all my loved ones
okay,
virus.
because I gotta say, I'm going to take us off topic, so you should probably finish saying what you need to say.
Okay, well, I was saying that things have been keeping me going though. Like, we were talking about James Bond. I wanted to mention I decided to sit down and watch all three Austin Powers movies in one sitting.
Okay.
And can I give a quick rundown of my thoughts? Very quick.
Absolutely.
Okay. First, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. It's the only one that's a movie.
Yep.
It has a plot, it has a story, it has a character arc, it has some meaning, it has an emotional core, and the jokes are very funny.
Yes.
If a little bit dated, and they're perfect for like a 14-year-old in the 90s, which was how old I was when I saw it. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Pure chaos. This is definitely just like, it's just jokes. It is just jokes, and mostly recycled jokes in the first movie. There are jokes in this movie that have nothing to do with being British, have nothing to do with James Bond. They're just like, it could have been in any movie. They're just jokes. Goldmember tried to have a little bit of a story and a little bit of meaning because of the father-son thing. It's all right. Still funny though. Funny, like not. I wasn't like guffawing during these movies, but it was kind of like it did remind me of a time when I used to guffaw at them. And you know what, Mike Myers, I still love him.
Oh yeah.
Like he might be the only person from that cast of SNL that like didn't go insane. And is actually still kind of funny, even if he's like making horrible movies that aren't funny, like The Love Guru.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that cast wound up making, almost all of them make like not funny movies now.
Yeah. Adam Sandler is the only one I think who's like capable of doing good stuff. He's so good at Uncut Gems. He's great in Punch Drunk Love. And I think even some of his comedies are pretty funny, but like his later ones, he's just making that money. But yeah. But no, I feel like I wish Austin Powers was more of a meme than Shrek was. That's my hot take.
There you go.
Yeah, baby. And also one of the memes kind of keeping me alive right now, and I do have to say a meme is keeping me alive, is the funeral dancers.
Funeral dancers, the Ugandan funeral dancers are amazing.
If you haven't looked it up, I'm just going to share a clip right here.
I've got to add, because you're asking about shows and movies and stuff. I have discovered Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, good. And what'd you think?
I don't want to spoil, because I know Father Fun really wants to be he really wants to be on the show with us to talk about Picard and everything.
Yeah,
I talked to him on the phone the other day, and he's like super jazzed to be able to do that, because now that Picard is over, so we need to do an episode all about that. But
yeah,
I will say that have you watched both seasons of Discovery so far?
No, I finished the first season.
Okay. I think season 2 is way better than season 1.
Okay.
Season 1 though had some really good twists and stuff that I actually did not see coming. And played with some stuff, which was kind of fun. And I know a lot of Star Trek fans complain that it's not Star Trek-y enough, and I can kind of see where they're coming from when they say that. That being said, I enjoyed it way more than I expected, and it's fairly fresh.
Yeah.
So I definitely.
Well, it's like we said, things either have to end or they got to change drastically if you want to keep it alive.
Right. I mean,
or the love of it alive, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting to me about Discovery, I mean, is that they tried to do that within an already well-established time frame,
right,
in Star Trek, and that was a little annoying. Like changing up the Klingons, like why do that? But where they go with things and how they do stuff with Discovery within that first season is interesting in itself because it shows the Federation Klingon War. Where they go in the second season is really fascinating because we get to see, we get to see stuff that's happening in Starfleet about 10 years before Kirk is captain of the Enterprise. And so it's stuff that we know of if you've watched the show, if you watch the original series. And in fact, what's really great, there's a great episode in the show where you don't mind if it's not a spoiler, but do you mind if I? Okay. I know you don't, I can't tell. Sometimes I know I can't remember where you are in spoilers these days. Sometimes you're like, I don't care.
It just depends. Depends on the property, really.
Gotcha. But there's a really great episode where they wind up going to the planet that is featured in the episode called The Cage, which is the original pilot.
Oh, okay.
Of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And they open an episode by saying previously on Star Trek Discovery, and instead they show the recap of The Cage. Like with the original actors and everything, like the exact stuff, and because they use the Cage as a lead-in to the episode, which I thought was just really great. Like they're not trying to restage it with the new actors or anything. They just let the original vintage footage stand on its own and didn't insult the audience to say that you're like, oh, well, why doesn't Pike look the same?
Right.
Why does Spock look different? They just, and so, which I thought was really clever.
Nice.
And I really liked that they did that. But they've done a few things there that really honored the franchise. And so I think it's better than a lot of Star Trek fans give it credit for, but a lot of Star Trek fans are insufferable. So,
that's just fandom, baby.
I know, which we talk about way too much on the show.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention Star Trek Discovery has also been a thing that I've been.
It's great. I want to get back into it, and I got to finish Picard. And yeah, we should do an episode on probably both. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
What else have I watched Tiger King, which was I'm sure everyone has watched Tiger King by now, so I don't have to really recommend it except for Chuck, of course.
I've not.
I don't
seen
even
it.
know how you'd feel about it, but I thought it was great. It's very entertaining. Entertaining in the way where it's like, oh, these are terrible people.
Right. You see, that's the kind of thing like I could get into.
Yeah.
My wife, not so much.
Okay.
And and so like I'm pretty much watching TV when she's awake. So I've tried to convince her to watch Tiger King. She's like, oh, I don't know, what I read about it doesn't seem like something I'd be interested in. So I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah. And I just started watching another docuseries, one that I started when it came out a couple years ago. I never got around to finishing, but I restarted it, called Wormwood.
Okay.
And it's directed by one of my favorite documentary filmmakers, Errol Morris. And if you don't know who Errol Morris is, he is sort of prone to making documentaries about really bizarre subjects. His breakout movie isn't really that bizarre. It's called The Thin Blue Line. It's about sort of a police cover-up.
Oh, right.
But he made a movie called Vernon, Florida, which is just Vernon, Florida.
I've heard about this, and I've really wanted to see it.
You would like it. I think you would like his stuff. He made a movie called Tabloid a few years ago. Just about this woman who just had this just bizarre life. She like cloned her dogs. She like kidnapped her Mormon husband, all kinds of weird stuff. Anyway, this movie this docuseries Wormwood is about this scientist. I think his name is Frank Olson, who worked for the government, and he mysteriously died one day. He either fell or jumped out of a window, and it was revealed that the CIA had been conducting experiments on Frank Olson under a program called MK Ultra.
Oh yeah.
So it's all about MK Ultra and Frank Olson and what he was doing with them, and all about his son, who's like spent his entire life trying to just like bust it open to figure out like what exactly happened.
Yeah, because remind me, MK Ultra is where they were using LSD on people, right? Like unsuspected. The
CIA was dosing people with LSD, and it basically in an attempt to experiment with mind control.
Right.
And they were doing it to they were doing it to their own agents. They were doing it to civilians. They were doing it to people who work at the government, like just anybody and everybody, like just dropping it in people's coke, you know?
Yeah. Which leads us to COVID-19.
Yeah. It is a little suspicious that Jeffrey Epstein died before the outbreak. Am I right? Died. And
that the outbreak happened. I won't get into it. There's actually, I don't know if I mentioned it on the show last time. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, really. Like they're fun, but like I don't really take them seriously. But I do find it fascinating that this virus came out in China roughly around the time that China was having a tough time keeping the fallout from the Hong Kong protests.
Yeah, and also around the same time as a celebration that was happening, right? It was what was it? It's like a holiday.
I don't know.
Some kind of international thing, or like I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you've definitely got those swirling around right now. That's great, awesome. But I'm interested in like you don't have to like. I'm just. It's so weird that people who like buy into like the crazy conspiracy theories, not like the ones that actually happen.
Right, the one that like somehow this was sort of like created by like George Soros and the Clintons to make Trump look bad. Right. That's the weirdest thing to me.
I know. The whole George Soros thing is hilarious. It's really funny. Although I shouldn't say it's funny because people have now attempted to kill him because of it.
Right. Well, it's also a crazy anti-Semitic, right?
Crazy anti-Semitic. Yeah. If you ever heard anyone use the word globalist, they don't really mean globalists. They mean Jews.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's been my foray. I have been taken to a little bit of the conspiracy theories, but like only the real ones, like MK Ultra, which is like, to me, that's the one I'm most fascinated with, because just of how reckless and like just messed up it was. Like the government like terrorized its own civilians.
Yeah. But they never do that now. They have our best interest at heart.
No, never.
See,
especially during a pandemic, never.
Yeah. See, here's the thing about all of what's going on is what I like.
This might be a good way to segue into what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to segue into the fact that I, on a certain level, sympathize with the Michigan and Ohio protesters. On a certain level. I want to make this very clear. Okay. On a certain level. Because, like, things like this are perfect opportunities for people with totalitarian impulses to start doing their thing, right? I mean, we've seen with the Patriot Act after 9/11 how things that are done for our good and our safety don't disappear. They just, like there's never a moment where it's like, oh yeah, well once we're safe, you can have this back. Like it doesn't happen. Yeah. And so I am actually very concerned about how quickly a lot of folks, how easily people have been to be like, oh yeah, put us under lock, like put us under lockdown. That's cool. We need to do that to stay safe. Like how quickly we did that without any kind of thought, and then like policing each other. I mean, yeah, I mean, taken from a certain level, it's kind of Orwellian, right? I mean, the idea that we would like call the cops on our neighbors because they're not staying inside all the time, and things like that. And like I said, like I'm not saying that that means that we need to sort of like let people just do whatever they want or whatever. But I think that some kind of conversation, at least some kind of thought around the bigger issues with all of this, well, we pretty much just shut stuff down without really any kind of thought of how, one, we reopen it, or two, to what extent the impacts would be on people.
Well, yeah, but it was also, people were really freaked out about the hospitals and medical workers who had to deal with like a huge volume of people,
Well, right,
and like I don't want to give like props to giant corporations or anything like that, but it is a little nice to see them show a little bit of solidarity to our medical workers, which is kind of what the whole point of all this is. Because there are people on the front lines, and there are. I mean, you think of all those nurses who are out there who don't have any like protective gear, taking care of COVID-19 patients. Most of those people are going to die. And
I don't know that I buy that they're going to die.
I mean, people already have been dying.
Well, I know, but like I think that's I think there's a bit of an overinflation. I mean, just look. The math is there. We know what the rates of death are. So just like basically to say like because you've been exposed to the virus, you're going to die. That's not a guaranteed thing. You can be exposed to the virus and not show any symptoms whatsoever.
No, it's true.
So I feel like that's. I mean, you take risks,
but it's happening. Like it's happening.
Well, I know, but the way you put it was that those people who are doing this work without protection, they're going to die. They're not necessarily going to die. Some of them are, but not all of them.
Okay, well, I'm not trying to say all of them are. I'm saying I'm sorry, I was not careful with my words.
I guess for me, like where my concern is how quickly, like how easily we've overinflated a lot of this stuff, and we're not sticking with nuance in all of this. And that's like, I think it's super important for us to remember that there's nuance, there's context, and we have to keep all of that. That like what we're seeing in New York is unbelievable, right? I mean, just the sheer number of infections and all the stuff that we're seeing there. But New York, New York and Oklahoma are two very different places. Mm-hmm. And for people to treat Oklahoma like it's New York is missing a few things. Like that, and that's the kind of stuff that's where I'm concerned about all of this, is that we can't. It's not a blanket thing across the board, and like we have to have a degree of sobriety with this stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think Oklahoma has been treated like New York. Like a lot of businesses are still open. I can go outside if I want to.
Right.
I can grow stuff.
Yeah. You're lucky, actually. I understand. Where was it? I read recently somewhere about a place where they weren't even allowing people to grow stuff.
Yeah, that's Michigan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that kind of spiraled out of control. Because from what I understand is that people started flocking to Home Depot and Lowe's and stuff, to the point where there were like lines around the building, and just kind of like picking up packets of seeds and like putting them back, and like not really practicing social distance. And people were like, okay, Home Depot is not necessarily essential as like a grocery store. We can't put people in danger for, seeds that you could probably buy online, which apparently you can just buy them online. But I don't know. I haven't really looked into like the actual laws or anything because I don't live in Michigan.
Right. Well, it's like for Hawaii. Okay. So like where we are, it's what's super frustrating is that we like aren't able to shut down our airports. We still have tourists coming.
Really?
We have tourists coming. We had like 200 or something come this week.
Really? That's crazy.
Or more. Yeah. And they're under, like, we have like if you arrive, it's a 14-day quarantine. Like you're supposed to self-quarantine for 14 days. and like people are just coming and they're just not following it. I mean, I was I was, you know, my little out of the way surf spot with my family the other day. There was me and 2 other people out in the water surfing. So 3 people in the water. And of course, you're able to keep a lot of distance from each other in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Car full of clear mainlanders.
Yeah.
Show up, all of them with cheap Costco surfboards. Only one of them is actually able to surf. It was a bunch of girls who just wanted to kind of like bob around in the water with this guy. And like I saw him paddling out. I was like, I'm done. Like I just paddled in. And I played in the tide pools with my kids, but I kept an eye on the surf on the break just to see what's going on. Like these people weren't surfing; they're not good at surfing. They were clearly just like probably staying at some Airbnb and figured they found a little out of the way beach they could go hang out at. The cops were less likely to hassle them because they went to Waikiki. They would get hassled, and like you know. And I look at that and I'm like, this is the problem. Like this is why they have to shut stuff down because. You know, like you're not, you know, you're not. One, you shouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
You should be back at home in your home state. You shouldn't even be in Hawaii right now. But anyway, but like I said, I sympathize, but I do sympathize with these people, and the reason why I sympathize with them is because I do. As much as we want to criticize Trump for his meme of saying like the cure can't be worse than the disease, there is a degree of truth to that statement. Because,
sure. And,
I mean, when you think about like the long-term economic impacts of people,
and that's, I'm not going to say, I'm not, no. That's off mic.
yeah. But of course, these are all problems of our own creation.
Yeah.
Because of our economic policies and other things.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a tweet or something the other day from someone that was like, paycheck to paycheck people working for paycheck to paycheck corporations, which have to deal with a paycheck to paycheck government. Whoever thought this was sustainable?
Yeah, I read somewhere. Yeah, that too, and also how like grocery stores apparently in the last like 5 years or something have like cut down on their backup supplies, which is why there's been such a shortage like all across the country. Yeah,
I mean, having worked for grocery stores, I can tell you that the stock rooms have gotten smaller in the newer grocery stores. They just, I mean, when I worked for Publix, like regular Publix, we had a pretty good sized stock room. It was an older grocery store that they had turned into a Publix. They had a good sized stock room. When I worked for Greenwise, which is the more organic style, we had like no stock room. It was so little. So yeah, it's all about maximizing the floor space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're living with the fact that we just don't. There's no surplus. There's no thought about caring for people. You know, there's no thought of, you know, we're not saving money.
Yeah, I listened to a nurse that was interviewed on a podcast, and he said the one important lesson that everyone needs to learn about our healthcare system is that it's not designed to help every single person.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that is foreboding.
Well, yeah, like what was it in? I think we found in Hawaii, in the entire state, there's like 350 ICUs.
Wow.
There's 1.2 million people that live here?
Yeah. Did you hear about Elon Musk?
No, what?
He said he was gonna. He had pledged to make a bunch of ventilators for hospitals in California.
Yeah.
But what he sent them like weren't actually ventilators at all.
Oh.
They're like these like CPAP machines, which are like kind of do the opposite of ventilating, which is like it pushes air out. It's basically like infect the room.
Lovely. Bless his heart. So
I know.
It's not like Dyson. Dyson created a really great ventilator. It's like well designed. But yeah, but that's why I said like, and I've said to you in our own conversations offline and other times has been, or off the show, have been, what I also see in all of this is very classic will to power type. I mean, think about it. What were they calling this immediately? Oh, it's war. It's just like war. They started making comparison to World War II.
Trump keeps calling himself a wartime president.
Oh,
like, really? Well, you already were because you're bombing people. So, I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, so of course, a country that's defined by a military,
the invisible enemy is an invisible enemy.
the military industrial complex would then, of course, cause us to define this thing in these terms. And so there's this super like classic like patriarchal masculine, like, we're going to beat this and we're going to do everything it takes to beat this. Like, you know, we're going to save your lives even if it kills you. Like, just approach that they've had to it. And then you look at Taiwan, South Korea, Germany, places where like women have run the program. And like
biochemist is the prime minister of Germany or something.
No, Angela Merkel. You're thinking about Angela Merkel. Was she a biochemist?
I know
that the head of the infectious disease program in South Korea is like, she's like a brilliant like epidemiologist or something like that. But
epidemiologist, yeah.
It's a word that I find so hard to say. But you look at the responses like I mean, you look at Taiwan. Taiwan was able to keep this thing low fast. Mm-hmm. Hong Kong's another one, also run by women, where they were able to keep this thing under control relatively fast. But what did they do? Lots of data. They got a lot of data to begin with. They realized that was the most important thing for them to do was data. And like, they didn't have, like, Taiwan has not had nearly the level of like draconian shutdowns that we've had in our country. You know, they had pockets and they isolated the pockets and they watched the pockets.
They also had testing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, they understood the importance of data.
Yeah.
And like, to me, it's such a like, I don't know if it's like properly said, like matronly or whatever, but there's this sort of sense of like, this thing is out there, it's dangerous. There's always going to be something dangerous, and so we need to be prepared.
And they're not super nationalistic, so when another country gives you a test, you don't go, no, thank you.
Right. Yeah, and I just think that seeing how, you know, just gender brings a different perspective to this, and seems to be a better perspective rather than this like, I'm going to measure my penis by how I beat the coronavirus. And then like watching all these governors that are like clearly trying to get into this whole match with Trump. Like, oh, I'm a better politician than Trump. Like, of course you are. If you are a politician, you're a better politician than Trump. But
there's been all this rumbling about replacing Biden with Andrew Cuomo.
Does not surprise me.
It's hilarious.
Does not surprise me at all.
I would just love to see it. Just try it. I just want to see what happens.
It's hilarious, but it's hilarious. And like here, like where I'm at, we've got all the mayors are trying to be governor. And so they're like all doing their own thing and trying to prove like, oh, look how leaderly I am. Like, oh, you know, our guy, the mayor here instituted a curfew. There was no healthcare professional was like, hey, we should have a curfew. It was like one of the other mayors had done a curfew, and senior citizens really thought it was a good idea, and so he was like, all right, we're going to do that now. Yeah. It's useless. It's just that kind of it's this kind of stuff that's so frustrating to watch it, because it's like there has to be a better way of handling this. We know there's a better way of handling this because we've seen the evidence of other places.
When we've handled it before.
Yeah.
SARS, swine flu, H1N1, all that stuff, bird flu.
Right. Without tanking an economy and like people's livelihoods and well-being. I mean, like it's. I mean,
in all fairness, one of them did just kind of go away, so it wasn't really anything we did.
Yeah.
Well, like when Ebola came here, right?
Well, Ebola is a very low transmission rate. Okay. But yeah, I just think that. So that's why I say I sympathize with these people, because like. What I hate, though, is like to say that because I look at the photos of them and they're like waving swastikas and stuff. And it's like, no, like you guys, like I agree with you for like I have agreement with you for the wrong reason.
Yeah, and that's such a deeper thing that we could spend a whole episode talking about, because I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've found that most of these people, you know, it's not so much they want to go back to work. They want you to go back to work, you know. Yeah, so that they can continue their normal levels of consumption.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, totally. And also just like really dumb things they've done. Like San Diego, California. You can't surf. They've outlawed surfing, basically.
Okay.
But the next like city up north of San Diego, which would be, I'm trying whatever county, whatever is up there next to it,
It's Orange County, right?
Yeah, Orange County. Yeah, Orange County. You can go surfing.
Yeah.
So like, why? Why are you? But like, you can't go surfing, but you can go biking, and you can like crowd the roads on your bicycles, and you can go crowd the gun stores. You can do all that stuff. But you can't do this thing over here, which, you know, we've told you know, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing to watch this sort of scattershot way of handling these things.
Yeah. I don't know.
It just shows there was no plan.
Yeah. This thing is going to turn me into a prepper, though.
Yeah. See,
yeah.
I'm realizing I'm an anarchist.
Well, I mean, I think a prepper can be an anarchist.
No, they usually are.
But one thing I've learned, it's actually interesting because back in October, I actually got really interested in like prepping, and I made like a list of supplies that I wanted to buy. Then I was like, you know, I'm just making me paranoid, and I just like threw it away. But one thing is, I started watching Doomsday Preppers, the show on Netflix, just to see like, you know, what do they do? One thing I noticed is that these preppers have this idea that like it's all centered on them being the last person alive, and I'm kind of ensuring that happens. None of them are concerned about their neighbors,
right,
or their community, and if they are, it's what can you do for me,
right.
It's not like what can I do for the people around me,
right.
And it's interesting because I feel like if I were a prepper now, like I would just be like giving things away at this point because I know it's like it's not horrible, but there is a need, and I feel like it's something I could meet.
Do you know who does that kind of stuff?
Who?
Street gangs.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if you read the stories about like what the Bloods and the Crips were doing back in the 90s, like how they were providing for their communities.
Yeah.
You know, because you know no one else would. And
I should point out that there are certain or there's a certain organization. No, I shouldn't say an organization, but there are certain factions of people that have been demonized by right-wing media that have actually been making homemade hand sanitizer and handing them out to people every day so far.
Yeah, because like the general attitude of like I just sort of want to be left alone. Like that's sort of the basis of like anarchist thinking, right? Just you know, just leave me alone. But I've spent the past several years off and on reading about various anarchist thought, and what I find interesting is that you know there is a sort of sense of a more kind of communitarian anarchy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the crux of like leftist anarchism is community.
Yeah, because like I don't want that like libertarian sense of like I don't want any because I want to be able to have some say in protecting like natural resources. You know, I don't think that just because like you want to bulldoze a chunk of land that you should just be able to do that because it's your private property or whatever. Like I don't agree with that. Speaking of, we have there's an area here in Honolulu called Waimanolo. It's outside of Honolulu. It's called Waimanolo. It's its own area of Oahu, and largely native community. And there is a tract of land there that's called the Sherwood Forest. And last year, when I visited Honolulu for interview purposes, when Kane and I were driving around the island, we actually just missed like this massive protest. It was like it's a protest going on kind of concurrently with the Mauna Kea protest that was happening about with the big telescope on top of Mauna Kea on the Big Island. Okay. So these are the two these are sort of two biggish native protests happening. So the city wants to develop this plot of land into some kind of like recreational complex. They actually wanted to put like a whole like sporting facility in it, but that got pressured into just sort of like a field, some like hiking trails and like nature walk kind of things, like a parking lot. But people are still protesting it because the natives who lived in this area have been saying for years there is an ancient burial ground in there. Like it's a native burial ground, you can't mess with it. It needs to remain wild. And the city's like, nah, whatever. We need to, we can just have like empty land. We can do something with it. We can be great for the community. It'll help like make the neighborhood nice and blah 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 blah. All this stuff. It's a merit to the argument. Well, about 2 weeks ago, in the middle of the pandemic, just one morning, bulldozers showed up at the property. Protesters are, of course, not legally allowed to protest, so they decided to go ahead and start the program and started beginning the bulldozing process. What did they find? Ancient bones.
Wow.
So they had to stop.
Whoa.
But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about is like, as a community, you should be able to say like, hey, I don't want you. Like, this is important to me. You shouldn't, you know, this is something for all of us to use, not just for you to use or whatever. Like, we should have some say in how we're going to mitigate this or work with this stuff.
Absolutely.
And so I guess like that's the thing that kind of frustrates me in all of this is that, and I guess what I lament in this time is that decisions were made without any kind of consultation of the people. Mm-hmm. And I know that, you know, people had to act. And so that's why these decisions were made that they were made. And I'm concerned about what the future holds for us. Because like, are we going to start seeing a continuation of decisions being made on our behalf? And I just don't trust the people making those decisions that they have my best interests at heart. And as we've seen, the government generally does not have our best interests at heart.
Nope.
But we've got a lot of people on the internet who seem to think that that's the case. Like, I don't trust government, but right now I do. I don't.
I don't have any hard numbers, but apparently this new corporate bailout is bigger than the last one. So,
listen. So there's a thing called the payroll protection program. The PPP comes out of the Small Business Administration. Yeah. Money. There was a whole bunch of money marked for like a couple like billions of dollars or whatever, marked for it that was sent out to banks all over the place.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah,
I think I know where you're going.
Well, so churches like my parish was encouraged because we're small. Right? We're a small church. I'm the only full-time employee person, like a full-time employee here. I've got 2 part-time employees, and I want to make sure being taken care of. And so we applied for a very small loan. It wasn't much at all, but it would just be enough to cover our payroll for like a month or whatever, and given that we're in the situation we're in, we don't have any income coming. And so churches and other nonprofits and stuff like that were encouraged to apply for it. And so we did, and we found out we didn't get the money. Because they'd already run out of the money by the time that we had applied, which, okay, a lot of places in Hawaii, a lot of places around the country are, applying, but for Hawaii. But what I found out is that in Florida, Ruth's Chris got money from that.
Wow.
Like huge, like multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah, but like a billion. Ruth is a billionaire, right? Like,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
but they got money from it. That like people like my previous parish probably need the money. They ain't getting it, but they get it. And they're already talking about that they don't want to use it. They don't want to use it to pay. And they also don't want to use it to pay salaries of their workers. They want to use it for like mortgage offsets or something like that.
Yeah, it's
unbelievable, and that's why I'm saying I don't trust them, and we shouldn't trust them. So as I said, on some level.
I agree with you. I'm just holding my tongue on a bunch of things I want.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, on a little level.
My thoughts on all of this.
Oh, I know. I think it's a slight level. I sympathize. I sympathize with the protesters. At a small level. And for reasons very different than they do.
And on we'll say like a working class level, right?
Yes. Because
you won't say an ideological level.
Correct. Not an ideological level. On a working class level, I agree with the sentiment that, are we... just to take it from last year, my mom was in the hospital, and my mom's doctor was talking about she had to have an operation on her heart, a little minor thing, and the doctor was saying that they didn't know the full extent of what they needed to do until they did this probing, until they did this probe in a valve in her heart, and the doctor said that basically, like in medical science, it's about weighing out harm versus help. And basically you want to say something where like the harm is minimal so that the help is greater. But if the harm is great but the help is minimal, then you don't do that. Right? I've had parishioners in churches where the similar kind of thing, like doctors have said, here's an operation that would fix your problem, but the state of your body is in such a case that we're worried that even trying to do the operation could kill you, and therefore we have to weigh the costs. We have to weigh this out. That's sort of the ethics. That's the ethics piece. Where I'm curious in this whole conversation around COVID-19 is with that. Are we causing harm to people because they're losing jobs? right? I know some people are saying, well, if we didn't do, you know, the alternative is that if a lot of people get sick, that affects the economy worse, or the potential is there, and that's a fair argument, I suppose.
Yeah, it would I mean, that's definitely what would happen. There'd be you go from recession to depression if everyone got sick.
Right. I mean, again, not that everyone's going to get sick, but it's, you know,
but like if they just like let everyone go back tomorrow,
yeah,
you know.
But like, but I guess the point being is that what's really angering to me is that we're even put in this situation to even have to talk about it this way, to have to be put into this either or no win scenario kind of thing, that it's, you know, like people like should be able to get sick and not lose their jobs
and not die.
Yeah, you know, I mean, see, I guess for me, like, death is a constant. Like, we're all going to die. So, like, I'm not so worried about that. Like, we're all going to die. It's going to happen eventually. If it's not COVID-19, something else is going to kill us, right? Like, that's just a reality of existence. You know, you have a higher chance of getting hit by a car and dying, driving to the hospital, than you do from COVID-19 at this point.
Okay.
But the fact that we're put in a situation where because of the possibility of people getting sick, getting really sick, many dying, that we have to then put people in a situation of economic uncertainty and economic harm. Like, that to me is an unacceptable reality. We should should be in a situation where we can tell people, hey, you need to stay home, and it's just a mild inconvenience. Are you keeping all of your fingernails in a Ziploc bag?
Yeah, I can't find any Kleenex boxes of my size for my shoe size. I only have the little Kleenex boxes, so they just cover my toes. Really,
you got to be like Ethan Hawke's character in Gattaca.
That's a good one. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. I now understand why in The Aviator, Howard Hughes was spelling out quarantine while washing his hands, because that's how long you had to wash your hands. Because I was doing because I do my ABCs twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait, that's why he spells quarantine. I never got that. I thought he was just crazy, which he was.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's the funny note we're ending on. Our own little brand of gallows humor.
Hey, we're really close to Music Mayhem.
We are. Do we need to select an album in this episode?
No. Well, I don't know. Are we going to record next week?
We should record next week.
If we're not going to record, we should try to do the Picard episode next week.
Let's have our big Star Trek episode next week. Let's try to get Matt. Let's try to get Father Font. We haven't had him on the show in a long time.
It's been over a year.
Yeah.
And I think I have an album in the hopper.
I think I do too.
Sweet.
It's not Fiona Apple's new one. So that's all the time we have. Please stay safe.
Yes.
Be vigilant. Don't be scared. Be vigilant.
Yes.
And
that's good advice. That's really good advice, JP.
Yeah. And do what you can to get your mind off things, or to. I know, don't listen to these people who are like, oh, if you're in quarantine, you haven't done anything productive, you're failing at life. Like, no, that's not true. It's not the same. This is not the same thing as a holiday. If you're doing this while and also being productive, you're actually you're doing better than most people. That's a talent. But still, you need to do things for you.
Listen,
put you in a nice place.
Can I say, I'm going to share one thing, and then we can, then I'll be done. And that is, there have been stories about like people having like crazy dreams during the whole social distancing quarantine thing.
Yeah.
They're calling them like the COVID dreams or whatever. And
I've heard about this.
And the theory that's out there is that there's nothing special about it other than people are just actually sleeping.
Yeah. That's sad.
So
people are finally getting rest.
Use this time to rest.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why so many people are taking this time to like suddenly take on a whole bunch of new tasks and challenges that they had never taken on before. Like I'm watching like colleagues of mine who've never made it their normal daily practice to say morning prayer every day. And now they're doing it online every single day. Like just take advantage of the fact you don't have to do as much and you can get healthy and stay healthy. That's the whole point of this, is to be healthy.
Yeah. The less stressed you are, the less prone you are to getting sick.
Take up meditation.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Take it up. Read a book. And also check in with your neighbors.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to hang out with them, but just make sure they're doing all right.
Call them, Zoom them, FaceTime them, Skype them, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people out there actually appreciate a text message or a phone call or a Zoom conference. I actually have some online friends, and we had a little Zoom party last weekend. That was fun.
Nice.
And we're having a little watch party. We're going to watch Titanic together.
Oh, that's fun.
And if you know anybody in your life who works in the medical field, give them a little, hey, what's up? How you doing?
And
let them rant if they want. Let them vent.
And let's not also forget the lesser sung first line essential employees, our grocery store workers.
Oh yeah, totally.
Fast food workers, Uber Eats people, all of those folks.
People still feeding us and taking care of us while we're, doing our thing too.
Yeah. And take advantage of the opportunity also to buy local, shop local if you can, because those folks really need it.
Yeah. There's this great little Mexican restaurant place here, and I love it because I can tell that the guy who runs it is taking really good care of his staff, because they're all masked up and they have gloves, and like they set up a little station to separate the customers from like the staff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I like seeing that. He's keeping his business open, but he's doing it to take care of him and his staff.
Yeah.
And they're taking all the precautions they can to keep us fed and to keep them going. And that's cool. Yep. I respect that. So awesome. All right. Take care, guys.
Yep.
And as always, good journey.
Mahalo.
All right. That's going to be your thing now? Is that?
I don't know. Should I be really inseparable and learn how to say good journey in Hawaiian and just use that as like a...
I feel like there's some people whose permission you should ask before you do that. Like, that's a thing.